What's going on, everyone? So today we're going to be doing a transmission repair. We're going to be replacing the transmission filter, gasket, and fluid. This is a 2005 Audi A4 1.8 with the 5-speed Tiptronic. So I'm just going to show you guys how I do it. This is going to require using the VCDS scan tool to monitor the transmission temperatures when we're refilling it. This is not necessary. You can wing it without it. But I have one, so I'm going to go ahead and use it, and I'm going to show you guys how to do that. So the first step is to jack up the car, and when you do that, you want to make sure you keep it level. So what we're going to do is we're going to put it up on 4 jack stands, high enough to crawl underneath, and I just used a level to make sure all the jacks were level in comparison to each other. So this is what the car looks like, jacked up. It's on 4 jack stands. They're all level, so the car is level. And now what I'm going to do is crawl underneath, and we're going to start draining the fluid. So underneath the car, when you get under here, there are two bolts. This is your drain, and then this is your fill. You're supposed to loosen that first to make sure you can actually refill it later. You don't want it to be stuck and then you can't refill the transmission. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to check this, loosen it just a touch, and then just hand tighten it back. So I want to make sure this is loose. And then once I do that, I'm going to go ahead and drain the transmission using this bolt right here. And what that bolt is, it's a 17mm hex. So the drain bolt is an 8mm hex. So far, the only tools we've needed are a 17mm hex and an 8mm hex. So the next thing I'm going to do, it looks like it's almost done draining. There are a bunch of little bolts all around the oil pan. What I'm going to do is I'm going to loosen those, and we're going to drop the pan. Once you take off all the bolts around the outside, I was trying to lower it down slowly, and I missed this little clip right here. Right there. It holds like the wiring for the transmission. The wiring, it just holds it on there, so I can't take the pan off. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and take that clip off and then take the pan completely off. So this is the pan. You see it's got these little magnets, and they don't look very good. There's like metal on them, little metal shavings. So I'm going to go ahead and clean this up, and I'll be back in a little bit. So here's the pan all cleaned up. I went ahead and cleaned up these magnets. I thought there was only 4, but these are actually 2 pieces. So I went ahead and cleaned them up, put them back where they were. And now I'm going to go ahead and take a look at the transmission underneath the car. So here is the transmission from underneath. What we're going to have to do is, where is it? Get rid of this gasket. So this is the old gasket. We're going to take this off, and we're going to clean up this surface. Want to make sure this is clean. No partial or no pieces of gasket are left on there. And then what we're going to do is we're going to take off this. This is the filter, and there are two bolts holding it on. Driver's side, back, there's a bolt, and passenger side, front, there's a bolt. So this is the back of the transmission, and you can see there's like some remaining gasket left. What I'm going to do is I'm going to scrape that off. You want this to be as clean as possible. So now what we're going to do is we're going to take off the filter, and this is a T40, a Torx 40, and there's the 2 bolts that I mentioned before. So I'm just going to, they're not very tight. I'm going to loosen them a little bit and take them off by hand. And there was a little bit of oil in there, so we're just going to go ahead and leave that in there and move it out of the way. And same thing as with oil filters, make sure, let me get it over here, make sure this O-ring actually comes off and it's not stuck up there. So you just want to double check. You don't want a double gasket in there. It's going to cause it'll cause it to not fit properly. Same thing with an oil filter. So what you're going to do on the new filter, you're going to want to put a little lubricate the gasket with some new transmission fluid, and then go ahead and put it in. This goes to the front of the car. This is the front. This goes in that little hole you took it out of, and then just line it up, slide it in there. And it is a little snug. I just want to make sure nothing's stuck in there. There it goes. Now I forgot to check the torque on these, but I'm assuming from how loose they were, it's going to be no more than 10 Newton meters. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to snug them up the German way, Guten tight, a little by hand, and then just a little tight with the ratchet. So here is the clean pan with the gasket. It is like a paper gasket. It's kind of thin. Be careful, don't rip it. And it's getting stuck over here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this kind of together like this. I'm going to bring this whole assembly over underneath the car. And just start one bolt here, one bolt over there, just to hold it up, and then I can go ahead and tighten all the other bolts. So the oil pan bolts are supposed to be tightened diagonally. I went ahead and did them in a star pattern, and what you want to do is you want to tighten them by hand first, then with a little bit of force, and then finally with the torque wrench, and they are supposed to be tightened to 10 Newton meters. So this is the pump I'm going to be using to transfer the fluid in. What I did here on the end, I put a little a 90-degree copper elbow. This is for like water tubing, water piping, whatever you want to call it. You need this 90-degree elbow to go through that little thingy that was on top of the oil pan. This right here, I'm going to put up a picture. So you need it to go 90 degrees to the side. It's not going to let you go straight up. So you need something to input fluid 90 degrees to the side, and this is what I came up with. It works. If you use like softer tubing, this is really hard. I can't even bend it. If you use softer tubing, you'd be able to just slide it in there off to the side, and you can do that. But this is really hard. I wasn't able to bend it 90 degrees so sharply, so I put that on the end, and it works. And then the fluid I'm going to be using is this right here. You can get this at like Walmart. What you should look for is this. The G052025A2 and the 052162A1. Those are part numbers for transmission fluid, and according to the repair manual, it needs 052162A1 or 162A2. The A1 and the A2 is basically just the size designation. So once you're ready to fill the transmission, if you can reach into the fill port and just feel where the opening is on that little cap that goes over the fill port, you want to make sure that you're actually sticking the hose through the port so the fluid actually goes into the transmission and doesn't drain out. It's going to take roughly about 3 quarts to fill the pan itself up. And once you have that filled, you can go ahead and start the car and then continue filling it until it like drips out or trickles out slowly when the transmission fluid is between 35 and 40 degrees Celsius. And this is where the VCDS comes in handy. You can turn on the automatic transmission computer and then monitor the transmission temperatures. When I was doing this, it was already a little too hot, so I had to leave the car turned off and let it cool down a little bit before I finished topping off the fluid. If you get it too hot, the fluid's going to be at a higher level than it would be normally, and too much of it is going to drain out and you're going to end up underfilling your transmission. If it's too cold, you're going to overfill the transmission. So between 35 and 40 is where you want to be. And then depending on how low your fluid level was to begin with, that'll determine how much you're actually going to pump in. Like I said, it's going to take roughly 3 quarts to fill up to the point that it spills out with the transmission off. Then you're going to want to turn the car on and finish topping off the fluid. And when you have a little bit of transmission fluid trickling out before you hit 40 degrees Celsius, you're going to want to tighten the fill plug back on before you turn the car off. Otherwise, when you turn it off, all the fluid is just going to drain out. So one thing that I forgot to mention, when you're filling up the transmission, if you can have someone either doing it while you're filling it up or you go do it in between quarts of filling, you can go ahead and cycle through the gears. So go from like park, neutral, reverse drive, and just cycle through that a couple times just to circulate the fluid. So if you have any questions or comments, go ahead and leave them down below. And if you enjoyed this sort of stuff, go ahead and subscribe and tune in for more videos.